this is a red flag, that is a red flag, I'm fucking leaving.
Do a good enough job so you balance job security with the optionality to leave the place and find a better job.
The people that triggers me the most is like everybody's fucking too positive.
There is some pressure in the system to get rid of you because you're all so expensive.
They don't want to hire me because I'm too expensive. It's typically along the lines of, you do not align with our company values.
It's more convenient to do a shit job now.
I'm gonna keep a very low profile, not have an opinion, and not have a spine. I'll just be super agreeable, not ask any questions, just execute like a monkey.
In the end, everything that involves people has a note of subjectivity.
What makes you wake up with motivation in the morning to want to keep doing this thing over and over again?
Don't outsource your critical thinking.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of VUnstaged, the late hours or the after hours edition, with yet another very special guest. Somebody I know, somebody I can call my friend. It's been such a while since we've seen each other, and without too much further ado, I will let him introduce himself, and then we can dive into today's show. So, if you can tell us what is your name, what do you do for a living, and I ask this everyone. How did you get into tech?
Okay, all right. I'm Alex Burlarcu, and what do I do for a living? I like to joke that I work some hours and then I send invoices. But like seriously speaking, I'm basically a machine learning engineer. For a few years now, more like consultant. Because of the weight of experience that I have. And how did I get into tech? That's also a good one. So initially, I actually didn't want to get into tech.
You didn't want to?
Absolutely not. My passion was cars and physics, and basically my dream job 10 years ago would have been, I don't know, to work for a Formula 1 team to like
change tires and shit?
No, to make fuck you, no. to make their cars go faster or some shit.
I mean,
like
you're
this.
doing the same thing, except it's not cars.
It's not cars, yes, but I'm doing the same thing. So yeah, I mean, you win some, you lose some. But yeah, about 10 years ago, when I understood that, okay, probably going this career path is not going to end well for me because there is no opportunity in Moldova and to evolve and even to make some money.
We'll talk about that because it's crazy how many opportunities you get now versus what it used to be the case a few years ago.
Yeah. So, and then I basically decided to go for IT because it was a challenge for me. I was absolutely dumb the first year of university, but that actually motivated me to work harder and to study harder. And by the third year, I was not dumb.
Before we jump into all the nitty gritty and the cool shit, wine's getting kind of hot, so I want to introduce the wine. So for today's show, we have two brands from Burlacu. The tradition of the show is you pick a bottle at the end of the show. So without too much further ado, let's give the wine a little taste. So this one is Freedom Blend.
Okay.
But obviously we'll slip from both of them. So enjoy your wine.
Okay.
So good stuff, man. I love Moldovan wine, especially the red one.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I was almost dry inside. I needed to.
You needed some lubrication.
Yeah, that's what she said. Anyway, so walk me through your path because you said you were not supposed to or you didn't want to or whatever. So, and you also mentioned university and the fact that you consider yourself dumb, which is funny because I always thought you're like the super cool nerdy guy. Every single time I saw you in like hackathons and stuff, we crossed paths quite a few times. And I thought you were like the cool guy. And then you also, I believe you were also a lecturer at the technical university.
Yep.
So if you can walk me through like the process, how did it go? What motivated you to go there? Maybe like this vocation of teaching others and whatnot.
Yeah. So as I said, I didn't actually want to go into IT. But then I decided to do it because of career opportunities, because also it was a challenge. So I basically picked the hardest thing that I didn't know in school. So I was like, I can crack that. Yeah, and I did. But it was a long and windy road. Um, so yeah, initially, like we have in school like the Pascal programming
Yeah,
language.
everybody's going through that blue screen, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, my my computer science classes at school, we were mostly doing Bilot and poker tournament with the other
I
class.
still remember the Romanian class.
Uh-huh.
So I was like in the middle.
Uh-huh.
So there were like benches and stuff. I was
Yeah.
like in the middle of the rows.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of guys right behind me playing below. They were like always.
Well, for the Romanian class, it was not advisable to do it, but with
I guess it
informatics-
depends how crazy of a teacher you got back then.
Yeah. That's why.
Because I switched schools. I remember my first teacher. She was like super crazy.
Yeah.
Not only you are not allowed to pay attention to the smallest thing other than the teacher,
Okay.
but she was like crazy on grades and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, ours was reasonable. It's just you didn't want to mess with her. But the computer science teacher, she was tame, let's say. So yeah, and we didn't had much problem playing cards. I mean, yeah, it's not. Yeah, in retrospective, it's not the best way to approach.
But at least it's a good memory. Yeah. So did you like become a lecturer for the like I don't know? Did you like
for the walls.
for the fun, for the check mark, for like you wanted to revolutionize maybe the educational system? Because
No,
at the time it seems to be a little bit like we had a huge demand for software engineers, but some of the programs, like it's still in many universities, are quite out of date.
Okay.
They've shifted a little bit towards data science, AI, and whatnot lately because that's the demand. Otherwise, they would go bankrupt. But still, like it's pretty
not,
out of date.
It's not so bad, and I have my opinions on what a university should entail. But about me being a lecturer, honestly, it was very altruistic of me. It was the desire to give back to the community and to make my community, because I'm from the Anglophone department, FAF, and I really wanted to make FAF even better.
I heard stories about you when you were a teacher. I heard stories that some students of yours were like, they came up with like a petition and shit.
Yes.
And they said like you were swearing too much and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fact.
Which I always found funny because that's another way of expressing thoughts, especially like in the engineering world.
Yeah. I mean, for me, swearing is basically so sometimes when you want to express emotions, you're maybe even like overfilled with them, and just saying that you're angry or that
it's
something is wrong,
it's just weird.
Not the same level. Yeah, it doesn't convey the same
it's
level.
It's like listening to, I don't know, somebody's frustration.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking emoji. It's text, and then there's an emoji which conveys the exact emotion.
I do agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like an emotion amplifier.
Yeah. At the same time, if your message is comprised only of emojis, it's fucking annoying. The same can be said about like curses and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So with the right amount, I would argue it's even creative at some point.
The problem is like, what's the right amount? Because I guess my right amount for someone else is intoxicating.
Let's talk about like the company culture these days that is being promoted. Specifically, I'm talking about like this fake positivity shit, and most notably like the pussification of the whole workforce. Like everybody's fucking too nice. You cannot fucking have like an opinionated opinion about something. You cannot tell somebody that they did a really bad job when that was the case. And you have this this thing where companies, instead of looking for A players, what they do in the process is they hire and even promote B and C players, which ends up in even more mediocrity.
Okay. That's like 6 questions in here. Let's take it step by step. So
I am speaking from my frustration.
Okay, I see. It's bottled up. Okay, so the company culture and the positivity thing. Research shows that happy employees are better performers, right?
Yeah.
So the higher ups, for better or worse, they just didn't have also
but
the time to
define happy. Does happy mean motivated?
That's another problem. They didn't think about it. They were like, okay, so we need to make our teams happier. How do we make them happier? Oh, we do mandatory corporate fun. We go on a vacation together, as if I want to go on a vacation and see my teammates.
Like every single
my
fucking
teammates
time
are
they
nice.
have these corporate events or vacations, I'm like, just give me the fucking salary plus that amount you spent on the vacation. I don't care about your vacation.
Yeah.
Although there are some people that like it.
Exactly. There are some people that like it. This is one thing. And another thing, if they give you the salary bonus,
also taxes,
and you collectively start hating someone, but the collectively is the important part, right?
Yeah.
So you establish team cohesion, and team cohesion is important for team performance, because if the team trusts, there is trust between the teammates, they usually perform better, and the communication overhead is also lower. So I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying there are reasons why this happens.
Yeah, but what I see, especially with like bigger companies, they throw these parties. They don't spend a lot of money on these parties, let's be honest. It's a good way of uniting everyone.
Yep.
But let me tell you what happens in these parties. You have small teams, which is natural. That's how people perform in small teams.
Yeah.
And with these small teams, you have a bunch of segregation. So there is, like, you see a bunch of, like, you see a party thrown out until the point where everyone's fucking drunk. There's like small groups, a group there, a group there, and it's typically the same team. So people from within the same team, maybe some departments which intercross each other, they will talk and they will typically ignore the rest.
Okay.
Which is how this, like, if your intent and your goal is to bring people closer together, I've seen like other parties where they have like games and shit, where people randomly meet each other, which is a fun way of, let's say, bringing people together. But when you just throw a party, that's not bringing people together.
No, it is. Look, it's not. Again, coming back to my argument about team cohesion, like, you need your team to perform well, right? Like maybe the team lead, because of his level and because of the scope of his work.
How about this? Yeah. What if I gave you two options and I asked the employees openly, would you like me as the guy who runs the company to throw, let's say, a party a month? Or option number two, you work 4 days a week. I will give you a slight bonus at the end of each month. Let's say it's like relatively small. It's like $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
And let's say I don't know, like some paid dinner once a month. And let's say both of these options amount to the same exact amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Which option would you prefer?
Okay, the paid dinner, is it a group thing or not?
Let's say it's a per team thing, per small team, not like the whole company.
Yeah, then later option. But
it's obvious. Why?
No, the reason I chose, because look, we're thinking from the level of like the individual contributors of the teammates. Yes, for us it is annoying. If you think from a management standpoint, you want to bring people together. It's also, like you said, that okay, occasionally people may mingle, the ones that are from different departments or teams, but you kind of want to also sometimes to maximize this intermingling. And if it doesn't happen naturally, it will be hard to make it happen.
Yeah. No.
So you bring people together and hope for the best. But usually these events are not so much for this intermingling thing, but more for team cohesion. You care that the team feels good and can trust each other and have shared memories and have like a shared story or whatever. The fact that there are other teams and they don't interact with them,
it's cool on paper,
really
but
matter.
I've been to way too many events where people just fucking ignore each other.
Yeah.
Unless you force them through like some kind of a game.
Yes.
Where let's say you have like a free program after a certain hour, and then you have like a mandatory everybody's fucking involved program until a certain hour. Unless you do that.
The problem with these initiatives is how often they happen. If it's basically every month, then you may even like destroy the mood.
Yeah.
It's too often. once a year, once half a year, I think it's plenty enough. But, well, I'm not in the position to dictate the schedules.
Yeah, I guess my point is I would rather focus on like unitary teams, individuals, build a connection with them. As a result, they respect me more. They respect the company they work for more versus just throwing a party for everyone. You as a top level manager don't give a fuck about them.
It's cheaper logistically.
Correct. Yeah, that's why they do it.
Organizationally, to do a one big party and just let them do their thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything boils down to economics and optimizing the processes.
Very correct. Yeah. Back to the niceness though. Would you say you're a agreeable or non-agreeable person?
I mean, depends. I guess by default, my default regime is I'm agreeable, but I may not be.
So agreeable, let's put it this way, agreeable within the context of your team, meaning technically, or agreeable?
No, generally. Like I always abide by the principle, don't be dick to people who didn't do anything wrong to you.
Let's say there's a certain level of quality and a certain level at which the bar must be raised.
Yeah.
And if you're not the one raising it, then everyone else is not doing it. And the quality is mediocre.
Yeah.
Like, are you, in that sense, non-agreeable?
I wouldn't say non-agreeable. There is a line between being agreeable and being malleable.
Yeah.
So you can be agreeable, but tell people the hard truth. For example, you're underperforming. I'm sorry.
That is exactly where I want to hit with the question. Like, how do you tell, like, have you had cases when you told people, let's say the hard truth or your own opinion or just your own core belief? Have you been terminated for that?
No, not for that. Although
it was for that reason?
It wasn't for nothing. I like to think that one time it was for my opinion, but that opinion was that the code base is shit and I want to leave and you have no established process. But they didn't actually fire me. They kept me for 3 more months and then fired me. So
yeah, like you never know with these, because I've had cases when I was told like you don't align with the company values and some shit like that.
I mean, it's generic shit.
And it's very clear that some shit bubbled up from the very like low level to
the thing that I said was to the CEO. So.
Oh, yeah, in that case.
Yeah, but no, I wasn't terminated, at least explicitly for that. But when they told me that's your last day,
there's NDAs, contracts and shit like that. Like they can't just do it immediately, I would assume.
No, they could have. I told them that I'm leaving. Like, I want to leave. And they were, no, please stay. Okay, I'll stay. They kept me for 3 more months. And then they fired me. But I wouldn't say, like, I like to joke that it's because of my opinion that it's shit and I want to leave. So they eventually decided that it was the right call. But I mean, a 3-month delay, it's technically not true. So
in that case, what would be, let's say, since you mentioned you told them you wanted to leave, what would be, I guess, top 3 reasons why people, in particular developers, leave companies? What would be something that is considered a toxic environment, as people put it these days? In your opinion, what do you pay attention? Like, what's a red flag? You enter the company, you are there for let's say 3 months, you work a little bit here and there, and you realize this is a red flag, that is a red flag, I'm fucking leaving.
It's kind of hard to formulate them, but you usually feel them. For example, I had a case where a chief product officer, let's call them, like they basically did like a power grab, and they kept the CTO more just as a figurehead without much authority. And that guy, he brought basically his team and his everything. That was toxic, and that was also unproductive because the existing team, although more expensive, they were much more suited to solve the technical problems that everyone was facing.
Right.
So yeah, this kind of political manipulations, they are for sure red flag. Other than that, yeah, honestly, for me, it is kind of a red flag, a pink one, if you will. Not quite red, but still not fun.
Like the wine.
Yeah, yeah, like a rosé flag. when there is too much like mandatory fun and the management does not heed to the team about the fact that, well, maybe we should try something else, or maybe we should do it less often. So when there is, I guess it's not so much the issue with the corporate fund, but more with this communication and feedback assimilation, if you will.
Right.
What else? No, there are many red flags. There is a joke that
Like I can name 1,000 of them.
Yeah,
if it were up to me, because I'm more of the let's put it negative / realistic kind of person.
There is this joke that like all the happy families are the same, but all the unhappy ones are fucked up in their own ways. So
yeah,
speaking it's kind of the same with
speaking of the families. Every single time you hear this, oh, we are a family. Welcome to the family.
Fun story I had once. I was interviewing for a company, and I passed pretty well all the stages, and there was only the last one with the CEO, just like a discussion.
Right.
And honestly, I assume they just didn't want to hire me because I was too expensive, but didn't know how to tell me.
Yeah.
So that guy, the CEO, during the call, he like threw, I don't know, all the possible red flags in the span of 15 minutes. So he first asked my opinion, what do you think about the fact that these Google employees were working for 10 or 15 hours a day, and now finally they will have to work for 60 hours a day? I really wanted the job, and I decided that, well, worst case, like a salary is better than no salary before they fire me, right? So I was like, yeah, no, I do agree. The developers are so lazy right now. And then he was like, like in this startup we're actually like a big family. We care for each other. I was like, my God, how?
Just get to the fucking point.
No, it was fun at that point. I was more like, my God, like, okay, so it was like a bingo card,
Yeah.
Like, okay, so family, overwork, yeah. What else he said? Also, I think ChatGPT was just launching, so it wasn't that much hype about using AI in coding. But I think if I would have interviewed with them after a year, there would also be a discussion like, oh, we want everyone to use AI and so on. So really all the red flags, like if I start searching my conversations, I will eventually find that message. It was actually amazing, It's like that movie.
For me, it's a lot easier. Like when somebody wants to tell me that they don't want to hire me because I'm too expensive, it's typically along the lines of, you do not align with our company values, or we are still evaluating opportunities, other candidates and shit.
Oh, but later
when I explicitly ask them, like, how many candidates you have in the queue, am I wasting my time? And this is my expectations, obviously. And this is funny that you waste your time. You go through, sometimes I even went through all the interview stages. You end up talking to the CTO or the CEO, and then you said some shit he didn't like, or he considered you were too independent of a guy or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, like, never heard this one.
Let me tell you this one. If like it smells like a mile away, if it smells from you like you're the guy who isn't seeing himself kissing their ass in the next 5 to 10 years, it smells like fucking independence, and they don't like that shit. So you want to be, typically when you show up for interviews, you want to be the loyal, kiss ass, agreeable / pussy guy.
Not necessarily.
Like
the way
I'll tell you that a lot of people tend to refuse, especially given the fact we have this oversaturated market. A lot of people lost their jobs, were laid off. There's more or less the same amount of employers, if not less, and a lot more engineers, and they can just gamble and play this card out. But there's a lot of demand.
Yeah, it's their market now.
Yeah. So they just play the card, and you have to like either lower your rate, or you have to compromise on your standards, which a lot of the times is you have to eat shit, basically.
Or you have to market yourself to a different audience.
True, but like I said, I see this as a positive. So if you saw this as a red flag in me, most likely we would have disagreed along the line anyway.
Yeah, that's called culture fit.
Yeah. Which is fucking like subjective and stuff. Like every single time you like go through an interview and people like bring into discussion this cultural fit thing. It's so subjective.
Look, cultural fit is a thing, and I do agree with it. Like, for example, let's now go into the extremes of the personalities of people, but just like the team processes. Some teams. Oh, okay. Let's take basically Google and Facebook. Yeah, Google is known for a very long process before your code gets to production. Right. So everyone like has to sign off on that, and you have multiple review processes, and you have to get security compliance and so on. On the other hand, we have Facebook, where they push shit to production. It breaks clients in various little ways, but everyone's fine with it. And okay, yeah, sure, go and debug it and whatever.
Yeah.
This is also company culture, right? And if you don't like breaking shit and you want to take your time to deliver quality work, Facebook is maybe not for you. On the other hand, if you really hate when you believe that your changes are safe to go to production and they could be deployed like later today, but it takes a week, you will not probably like Google. Of course, it depends from team to team. I'm not generalizing here, but it is like the stereotype is this is how Facebook works versus how Google works. So
does it have to do, let's say, with like the level of quality checks? Let's say code reviews, maybe?
Not just code reviews. It's a matter of business priorities, let's say. Some understand the value of engineering quality.
When it comes to tangibles and like deliverables, a lot of businesses consider code reviews, writing tests, writing docs, all of that as it's nice to have. Let's fucking do it later when we have time. Truth be told is a lot of businesses prefer to pay 2x or 3x extra, meaning you'll have a harder time later on doing the right thing than if you do it now, than to do it now. And they just fucking skip it. Like I can tell you from my own experience, like I know the good practices. I've done it in like a few companies. Then you jump into like a startup and they're like, fuck that. We don't have time for tests, no time for documentation, no time for this, for that. Then a lot of tech debt accumulates. And then the managers come to you, why is this taking so slow? Why is this shit smallest thing you add like breaks a ton of other things? It's because you don't fucking have tests, because you don't have documentation. When people join, they have a hard time onboarding. And all these things pile up. And in the end, you pay the price, which is like triple.
Yeah, but you also... So, okay, first of all, yes, I absolutely agree. A lot of companies neglect the engineering quality, let's say. But again, think yourself from the business perspective.
I do. Yeah, no, I do understand that perspective. If I were to be a businessman, in particular, the owner of the company,
you would want the results as soon as possible because, I don't know, you need that feature, you need that report, and you need it fast. There is value
you have
in
investors,
speed.
you have deadlines and targets to hit and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a hard balance for me.
It's a hard balance, but the way I usually try to tackle this with the product team or the business, I tell them, look, if you give me, let's say, 20% or 15% more time, I can make a better work of it. And as a result, later, when you will ask me to add some more stuff or modify it or scale it or whatnot, it will take less time. You should always try to sell the idea of engineering quality as something that will save money down the line. Because they don't think in terms of future savings. At least they don't draw this connection. Usually, they're like, I need the feature now. And you're like, okay, I can give it to you in 10% more time, but at least I will make sure a few issues are not there, so I don't have to debug it later, and I can develop something else additionally faster.
Yeah, I use
usually
like
this works.
Every single time I participate in these refinement sessions and whatnot, where you like estimate work and you come up with like potential solutions. I tell them there's two ways. We can do it quick and we can do it a bit slower. If you do it quick, you save costs now because you look good on paper in front of the client. However, if you do it slower, it's going to give you this, and that, and like the long-term game. And if you play the long-term game and you want to save costs along the line, as you said, you need to sell them, like you need to wrap every technicality, including technical debt, including tests, docs, and all that stuff in some kind of cost. You need to give them like a number. That's how they perceive it in terms of business deliverables and value. So I tell them that, and they kind of stumble and think, okay, do I want this or that? You know what the problem is depends very much on what kind of product you're working on.
Yes.
If you're doing outsourcing, all of the shit goes out the window.
Yeah,
Because they don't care. They care that they deliver it as fast as possible, and somebody else will deal with the problem later.
It's worse than that.
Yeah.
If you're an outsourcing company, you make money as long as you have a client. So if you make the illusion that you deliver quick, the client will want to work with you.
You also set the expectation.
But no, that's not the way I wanted to go. But if you deliver low quality, this means there will be need for rework. So you keep the client for longer.
So is then the motivation to do quality software? Because in
it's
theory,
the motivation to do low quality fast software so that the client feels rewarded that, oh, I paid money and in 1 month I already have an MVP that I can use internally, and in 3 months I will have something ready for a beta test.
But then the client comes to you and says, why is it so fucking hard to add an extra window when you built the entire house in one week?
Yes.
And it's taking you 1 month to add a window?
You figure it out.
Yeah, like that's the problem. Like,
but at least you got them hooked.
Yeah, I guess this is what's happening on scale. You see this like on scale. I mean it. Like you join companies to companies, you see this every single time, where there's like, what's the motivation for hiring like really senior, really skilled developers, which will care about simplicity, will care about other people onboarding the project after they leave, will care about that project looking and feeling future-proof, meaning the solution will scale to a few users, it will scale to a lot of users, it will just work. But at the same time, if you do it that way, it's not only extra effort, it's not only extra time, but it's also not rewarded, because you can technically then be replaced because it's so easy to modify. Instead, if you do a shitty job, if you make everything buggy, then you're the fucking only person who is the documentation, who is the person who knows, and they can't even fire you. So what's the motivation then?
Yeah, my argument, like as from the point of view of an independent contributor, like why do quality work, is if you do shit work, you, even when you want to leave, they will offer you a very cool package just to stay, because as you said, you're the documentation, you're the maintenance, and you don't really want that, right? So I'd say like this, do a good enough job so you balance job security with the optionality to leave the place and find a better job.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, because in the end, it's gonna go to shit anyways. In the end, somebody new is gonna join, is gonna fuck. Like, it's enough for you to go on vacation for 1 week, you come back, and you already see the whole thing in shambles.
I mean, you work in some pretty dysfunctional organizations, because it wasn't the case for me most of the time. Like normally, last time I left for a vacation for a month and a half, and everything was fine.
No, it depends very much on the niche. Let's say it happens rarely, or not as it's not as common in the backend world, especially in statically typed languages. If you take if you make a slight shift, you go to like the JavaScript community, for example, it's enough for you to like go on vacation for 1 week, you come back, everything breaks. Somebody fucking did something, it breaks. Somebody changed the whole approach, how you did things. Now you need to do things another way.
We can generalize and say basically if a company has higher engineering quality standards, things will erode slower. So you can go on longer vacations.
Yeah. But I do agree with what you said, that there is a balance between you give them, you make them happy, meaning deliver them features and whatnot, make the business happy. At the same time, you don't fully cut the branch that you're sitting on by making it too good, too high quality.
Again, depends. Think of it this way. Like right now, we see a lot, and I'm sure you'll want to dive into this topic. We see a lot of layoffs for the last few years. If you are truly a good senior, you will be paid a lot, most of the time, unless you fucked up. But yeah, you can ask for a lot of money, and usually they will pay it for you. The problem is when you start earning a lot, especially compared to your peers, there is some pressure in the system to get rid of you because you're also expensive. So the more senior and expensive you get, the higher the desire usually for the management, at least some layer of it, to get rid of you just to save costs because everyone's doing this, right?
Yeah, I
A
think
manager who understands what you're doing and the value you bring, they will try to keep you because they just do basically the profit loss analysis. But if some new management arrives, they may push for firing you because why is this guy getting paid twice as much as the other one? So in this situation, sometimes it makes sense to deliver very high quality work
yeah.
so that you can brag about it. And when you are laid off, it's easier to find the next job. And
Yeah,
think
but
in
it's very
terms of
much-
just shorter cycles.
It's tied up to the ability of the manager of understanding the quality of the things you do.
Yeah.
If you have a manager that is not as technical, most likely you or John Doe, who is doing a shit job, is on the same scale, except you're being paid a lot more. You mentioned like the way you're supposed to keep like job security and whatnot. Would you say that we live in a epidemic of incompetence because of that? Because a lot of the people
Okay.
are afraid of being laid off, and they kind of play two cards. One card is I'm gonna keep a very low profile, not have an opinion,
Mhm.
and not have a spine. I'll just be super agreeable, not ask any questions, just execute like a monkey, and keep my job. While at the same time, I'm just gonna fucking delegate everything to LLMs, and they're gonna do my job. I don't care, and this is what it is. As a result, you have a lot of software which is built in a poorly way, and also you have people who don't understand what they're doing.
I think it's not a new problem, first of all. And I don't think it's that dramatic.
Yeah.
I mean, before LLMs, we had Stack Overflow, where like,
Yeah, but I
all
remember
the jokes about
hear me out. I remember the times when people used to do code reviews. That's one. Two, I remember the times when people were reviewing code,
Mhm.
they were actually pulling the fucking branch, running it, and then code reviewing it.
Mhm.
Nowadays, nobody fucking like. I know a lot of cases in my own personal experience where the guy is doing it. He opens a merge request, a pull request, and then he just awaits an approval. He didn't even run his own code.
Mhm.
That's what it gets down to. Like they don't even care. Like they just trust that this should
Look,
work.
Again, I deeply believe this is not a new problem. Same thing happened also with Stack Overflow and juniors who like maybe checked that some parts of the code are running. Best case scenario, right?
So it's
Or
just scaled up.
Yeah, it's just scaled up, and now, yeah, it's more convenient to do a shit job now, but it's not a new problem at all. And in terms of mediocrity that you're talking about, again, people want maximum results for minimum effort, right? And
Right.
in business, it's called the margin of profit, right? Yeah, people just try to maximize their profits this way. So to commit the least amount of time to get the most amount of work done. And with the code reviews, you're saying that you remember when there was a time where people were pulling those branches. Maybe you were lucky and you had an actual good senior who was doing that, because yeah, very often like
Yeah,
when you see a big pull request of, I don't know, 1,000 lines of code, you just skim through it. Looks good to me.
no,
and
1,000
here we
line
go.
is I would say, I mean it's acceptable, but typically you want to narrow it down to like at most to 600. That's my best recommendation.
Okay, my best recommendation is 100 lines of code at most, but yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, it depends on the feature, I guess. But my point is like I remember the times when I used to do like stuff at Crunchyroll.
Mhm.
There was a guy. On the one hand, at the time, I remember him as a dickhead. But now that I think about it, he's actually the shit. He's actually the guy who checked me, challenged my beliefs, challenged the thing that I implemented. He
Mhm.
was annoying at the time, but thanks to him, I grew up a lot. And that is because he actually pulled the branch. He ran the branch and he would like comment, oh, this thing is like not compiling.
Yeah.
This thing is failing. This thing is giving me like a panic or whatever,
Mhm.
which is good feedback.
Yeah.
I am 1000% sure I can like put my hand in the fire. We go interview a company, you join the project, they give you a task, You implement something,
Mhm.
the code doesn't even compile. You open up a merge request or pull request, and they'll fucking approve it. I can guarantee you such a case, it's easily going to happen. Yeah, it's because of this whole automation and everything has to be moving fast. And then we have the AI boom, and it gives especially the managers are like sold on this fake idea that things are just magically supposed to move 30 to 50% faster because you have AI.
Yep, this happens. Yes.
Yeah, so like we spent a lot of time talking about company culture and whatnot.
Yep.
And I'm talking to a data scientist. We haven't even touched anything on AI yet.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's time to dive into some LLM shit. I know this is going to sound like super boring, but if you were to explain to a dummy, how do we get from from an input of text to a magical output which looks ordered, looks smart, somewhat what we asked for, more or less without hallucinations, even properly formatted and whatnot? So how do we get from this to that?
No one knows. Not reliable.
Because a lot of people think LLMs are really magical and they're really intelligent, but in reality, it's just numbers.
They're not magical. They may be like some spark of intelligence, but it's really hard to prove. The intelligence of a thing is very much a moving goalpost.
Yeah.
Like every time we're like, oh, we're almost at AI, someone will be like, oh, actually, if it were really smart and intelligent, it should be able to solve this problem. This is, for example, the issue with the so-called term of AGI, like artificial general intelligence.
Are you bullish on that?
No, probably not. I'm skeptical. The problem is with the so-called AGI thing, humans are not AGI in the sense that we are not generally intelligent.
Would you say that if we reach AGI, by definition, we created something that is as stupid as we are?
Well, by the true definition of AGI, that thing will be smarter than us. But yeah, I don't think I think we're nowhere near that, to be honest.
Have we reached a capacity of compute? Because I've heard like a lot of people complaining that we don't have enough compute for powering all the applications of AI.
With the current AI algorithms, yes, we don't have the compute. The problem here is the algorithm. So typical fundamental problem of the current AI being everything past 2010. So all that has a neural network in it, whatever shape it may be. The problem is those algorithms are not very resource efficient. Like human brain has many more parameters, right? But it consumes something like 30 watts, I think, of energy.
Interesting.
So, yeah, compared to ChatGPT, which is nowhere near the human
Especially
intellect.
if you fucking thank him. You're just wasting CPU cycles.
That's a fun way, but yeah.
Would you say, let's say, if we somewhat reached a capacity of, let's say, compute, would you say the way to move forward is maybe quantum? What's your opinion on quantum and its development, and how would it affect, let's say, AI?
Okay. I'll say it like this. Quantum sounds cool.
Yeah.
There are some interesting use cases, but none of them are fancy.
Yeah, like, because you can't really solve any problem. Like, you still have to rely on classical computers.
No, but
there are some problems.
There are much smarter people than me that work with quantum and know much better the capabilities of those systems and the trajectory of their growth. But honestly, from my knowledge of what quantum algorithms we currently have and quantum compute that we have, the best use cases for that technology is stuff like molecular design, like material science, maybe encryption and decryption.
Speaking of encryption,
not chatbots, not computer vision and stuff. So yeah.
Speaking of encryption, do you think it's going to break the entire internet security if we, like, let's say, if we start producing quantum on scale for like consumer use?
We're very far away from that, but it will not break it all. It will break some old outdated stuff.
Because there's algorithms, post quantum algorithms and stuff.
And not only that, the current, to my knowledge, the current quantum algorithms, they cannot even crack AES 256.
Right.
So that thing is already
So you're saying like
safe.
Willow, which got released, wouldn't be able
Whatever,
to crack
Willow,
it.
Majoran, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. What is in danger are the RSA-based algorithms, basically
Those
the
were
ones
always like, if you read any cryptography book, they will always not favor RSA basically.
Well, we started with that. So.
Yeah. Like a lot of TLS is still on that.
Yeah, but I think nowadays most of the TLS is already 1.1. At least you have the gateways up to which the TLS will be frequently updated, and even 1.2 or 1. I think there is also 1.3 now with the zero.
There is,
Zero.
yeah.
30. Yeah. So worst case you could do as,
we
it was done initially. You put an accelerator in front that will handle the most recent TLS and HTTP3 and whatever. And behind that,
people already along. A lot of like security protocols long since have shifted to like elliptical curves and stuff.
Yeah, and
this is like the standard basically.
Yeah, and the post-quantum one, the lattice-based approaches also.
I read that stuff like a few times, and it's still so complicated to understand.
That's the point.
Like you try to make up your mind, like, okay, I'm reading this algorithm, how this works. The guy's explaining it to me. I'm like, still like that meme, when you see a lot of formulas and shit.
Yeah, very easy explanation of why lattice-based algorithms work and why are they so complicated. Maybe you recall that solving a numerical problem, like an equation, if you do it with floating point numbers, right, and you're searching for real solutions or real number solution, it's relatively easy. You compute some kind of gradient, maybe like some derivative, whatever. Something that you cannot really do if the solution space is natural numbers, so integers or negative values. So that's kind of the reason, very low level, the reason why lattice-based approaches are so secure, because it's just a very big discrete math problem. So,
speaking of math and LLMs, going a little bit back to LLMs, can you explain what is linear algebra and how it plays a role in the whole data science, in particular LLMs?
So the linear algebra is basically collections of numbers, right? Be it a vector, which is like an array with values.
Operations on that.
Yeah.
Like I remember the course at the university, and you're like, this sounds like normal, like algebra and stuff. And then they started introducing operations and then all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, I understand everything. Then I leave the class and I forget. It's like a fucking erase of the brain.
Happens.
At the time when I was a student, it was very complicated for me to not necessarily understand, but remember the concepts. But it's a really fun subject, I would say.
Yeah, and it's pretty fundamental. Like every time you want to work with lots of values at the same time, you reach for linear algebra. Yeah, the matrix, you multiply a matrix with something else, you get probably another matrix. Depends.
Would you say this is a must know for anyone who wants to enter the game of data science?
Of data science?
Yeah.
I'd say
let's say
very advisable.
Not ML engineering, but data science.
Well, data science is basically statistics plus writing Python. Well, you can write R, but nowadays people have a much better ecosystem with Python and have at least some communication and like business acumen. Business acumen, I mean, at least ask the right questions, the non-technical people. So yeah, I'm telling it as if the bar is pretty low, but data science is one of those fields where unless you're a big organization that has the necessary infrastructure and training, you cannot be a junior data science, right?
Right. So then, like, this is the tricky part.
Because it's the data science, at least initially, it was very much like the wizard who comes and tells you in data what's the problem with your business.
So
nowadays it's a bit easier than that. But.
So is it like are people that let's say enter the field of data science typically mathematicians that learn how to code, and then
sometimes
they like transition to this position, or would you say that data scientists are, let's say, software engineers that pick up the subject of data science and they're like, oh, I also know some math. How about I just, I don't know, go and do a degree? Because a lot of the times companies tend to ask for degrees for various reasons. And then he's a data scientist. So is there hope for juniors in this case?
No, there is always hope for juniors. It's just lots of effort.
How would you, let's say tomorrow we go both to like a university campus, how would you sell this data science idea to a student? What would they must, like, let's say there are 3 things they must absolutely master for them to have any chance in this industry?
Okay. First of all, to sell the idea, I'll just like draw the salary range that they can ask for.
Yeah, like you're not gonna fucking starve anymore.
Yeah, you'll have enough money for beer and wine and whatnot and steaks. Yeah, but if you want to sell it, you're not telling of all the.
That's true. That's true. But let's say not necessarily sell. Maybe that's not the right way of putting it. Let's say you want them to become like. Let's say at some point, like we grow old and we need to pass down the job. Whether this is going to remain the same or it's going to shift, it's going to change. We want to pass down our job to the next generation. We want to onboard the next generation of engineers, whether it's software engineers, ML engineering, and whatever, or it's data scientists. How are you passing down the responsibility of data science to the next people, especially if, let's say, this is their first thing that they're picking up. It's not that they come from a math background or a software engineering background with lots of years of experience.
I mean, you train them like an apprentice almost. But maybe like what you're asking for is like what are the fundamental skills that will make them actually a successful data scientist?
Yeah, does university help in this sense?
I'm leaning towards a no. But in terms of just pure skills that are required, uni will cover the math.
Yeah.
And the basic programming, because I am yet to see a very good data scientist who's also a decent coder. Usually a very good data scientist is not a decent coder, but they're a very good data scientist, so that's their value. Yeah.
It's like with gameplay programmers, they're not very good at like software engineering.
But they're good at optimizing. So
but they're so fucking good at physics and like all the crazy shit.
But one fundamental skill for a data scientist, and I'm talking exactly about a data scientist, not machine learning engineer, not AI engineer, is asking questions and working and formulating basically hypotheses and solving them with data. Right. So it's a lot about statistics and data and business understanding. Because if you're not asking the right question, like, okay, you'll find
come up
some
with the
answers.
Best implementation that solves not what the business wanted.
It's not even about the implementation. Let's say that they are indeed a data scientist, but what distinguishes a good data scientist from a great data scientist is the ability to ask the right kind of questions and suggest the simplest solution. A good data scientist may be able to quickly solve, for example, the problem that the business puts in front of them. Something like, I don't know, why are our customers churning? Yeah. A good data scientist will tell you, they churn mostly like at this stage in the pipeline or user story. But a great data scientist will actually dive deeper and understand and uncover what are actually the root causes for this. Right. So this kind of like critical thinking and knowing what to ask the business and subject matter experts, because sometimes it's also needed. That's what makes a good data scientist, a very good data scientist. Yeah. So basically, understanding business comes above, let's say, math skills / software engineering. I'd say yes.
Yeah, especially if you consider like a good one versus a great one.
Yeah, I'd say yes. The problem
I would
is,
say it's the same case for even software engineers.
uh,
There's software engineers and there's great software engineers.
yeah, but
It has to do with the level of business they understand.
For great software engineers, you should also be like an actual software engineer. So as a result, you need to know how to do quality engineering,
Right.
which is not so much the case for data science, because so it basically boils down to what is science and what is engineering, right?
Right.
Engineering is about standards, replicability, and high quality.
Right.
Science is about inquiry, understanding, and telling what's up. So
You still end up like with some kind of there's something tangible as a result of you doing the forensics and finding out what the data means and how to solve a certain business problem.
yeah, but that code will be unproductionizable probably. So,
yeah, that's fun.
It will be a notebook. Maybe there will be a cool graph about it, but other than that, there must be also like if you want to productionize that, you'll need an engineer who will guide the data scientist.
Yes, as my previous colleague invitee used to say, like code that lives in notebooks, projects that live in notebooks.
Yep. And sometimes there is value in it. So if you what you're doing is an analysis, I mean, as long as you uncover some insight, yeah, whatever. You could have written it in Vim. I don't care as long as I see some insight.
Yeah, like the final customer is still like internal to the business in a way.
Yeah.
So in that sense, if it makes sense to them, who gives a shit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, put it in a slide and whatever.
Are you like scrolling LinkedIn often?
I mean, yeah.
So like, I'm sure you're fed up with like the tech bros and what people are posting. Everyone who's like, because everyone's like an AI specialist these days. Like, what are the things that annoy you, or let's say even trigger you, that you come across around LLM, data science, and whatnot? And what are the things people should pay attention? And I would rather say not pay attention and just skip, because it's just a lot of engagement bait / clickbait.
I'd say LinkedIn right now is 98% just engagement bait. And it's not just the AI topics, almost any topic. So I tend to just scroll through it, maybe occasionally find a nugget of insight, and not AI insight, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, 95% of it is just bullshit. My bigger issue with LinkedIn, it's not even those AI experts, it's the political rage bite on LinkedIn. So that things
Political in what sense?
LinkedIn is like supposed to be professional, right?
Every single time I see like calls for votes and let's save the country and like, especially when I see like, I believe European Commission posts a lot on LinkedIn as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single time I see their bullshit, I'm like, so not even enraged, but triggered in a way. Okay. I'm like, let me write something. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to write anything. And then you end up like commenting and shit. But then is this really a network where because Facebook is really political. Instagram,
I mean, right now everything
is not as much, but Facebook is like the social media where you write like super long messages. You target, you whine like a little bitch a lot, and then you complain about how much your life sucks, and you actually live in a democratic country. Everything's good compared to many other countries. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like when you see LinkedIn, not to mention the amount of bots that exist there, and the people that triggers me the most is like everybody's fucking too positive. Like you see this fake positivity. Everybody's fucking commenting, "Oh, this is a great article and shit," but that's a fucking bot who's commenting on his own page.
It's not really about positivity in this regard. It's about you need to comment.
Yeah, to create this perception of people actually engaging with your shit. Yeah.
Yes. So you just kind of force something when you don't have anything else to say. You just comment, "Oh, this is great." Yeah, I honestly don't comment at all on neither on LinkedIn nor on Facebook or anywhere else. I'm the shadow one.
I promised to avoid politics as much as I can, because you can have like the smartest. I've met the smartest people in my life that they're so very smart in a particular regard, and they're so easily manipulative when it comes to politics because they don't follow as much, or because they bought into some idea and they're just side of a certain camp.
That's all the people in general. Like you can, the myth of someone being smart means someone is smart in everything. It's just a myth. Like
Yeah, I guess
we all specialize in something.
I
right?
guess as adults, what I like, I tend to measure my maturity as I grow with how often I am able to change my lenses, how often I am able to get out of my comfort zone of what I think is right, of what I think is moral, of what I think is the thing that should be done this way or that way. And I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the other camp. Maybe that's the why. Maybe they have like a true, like plausible reason to think or believe that way.
I'm mostly sure.
And it even applies in software engineering, like with code reviews. Like somebody writes some comments, you immediately get into defensive mode, caveman mode almost.
Yeah.
And you start defending your own little baby, which is your code that you wrote, but somebody else tomorrow is going to come and change it anyway. And instead of being defensive, a sign of maturity is let me try to put myself into his shoes, understand his perspective, and maybe realize that he actually wants the quality of the software to be higher. Maybe he wants to raise the bar, and I'm the little baby who cries about my baby not being changed and whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it. Yeah, because like in the end, everything that involves people has a note of subjectivity. Like we're not doing science here. And even in science, like you still have, for example, peer review process where you may encounter some reviewer who, like there are always jokes about the second reviewer who's a dick. So yeah, every time people are involved, there is subjectivity, and you just for your own sanity and to be a professional, just consider the other party's context, let's say, and forgive and forget. Unless they did it deliberately, then find them and do a
Yeah,
taken
after all, we're people, we're dealing with people, especially when it comes to building products. You don't do it alone, you do it in a team. And yeah, like at the end of the day, you need to be human, I guess. And like with all the AI boom, all the tools we have, at the end of the day, we still have to deal with each other. And we're emotional, sometimes irrational.
Yep.
It's just an interesting aspect of it, which I always found interesting, because you look at people as emotional, irrational at times, but then you look at engineers who are all of this, but also embodied with like a lot of technical knowledge, and in the same package, various ratios of ego.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, engineers are also people, so
every single time you have these like debates, internal debates, it's always interesting to like look from the side. But they're also healthy in a way, because that's how we push innovation many times.
if it's a respectful debate, yes, where people seek truth and not and not just to boost their egos, then yes, it's super healthy and super useful. Yes.
Yeah. Since everyone's like relying on LLMs, which touched on LLMs, since everyone's so reliant on that, I was thinking of a scenario. Let's imagine tomorrow we were to ban all the existing LLMs, both private ones and the ones that are open source ones and the ones that are proprietary.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think is the percentage of jobs that will be lost? Like people will immediately go, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
Not many, because we're still very recent in this change. So most of the people who have jobs and who use LLMs, they started out without LLMs. So it will probably somewhat affect the more junior people.
Yeah.
But even in there are different degrees of using an LLM, and there are different ways to interact with it. Some may treat it as a shortcut, but then try to understand what did it write, for example, and maybe search for additional information and just like grow also as a professional. Others may use it just as substitute of their skills and professionalism. The later ones will, of course, be impacted.
To what degree would you say we've become dumber, whereas there's also the contrast where the best of us got even better, even more productive? Because in like the seniors, like senior developers, I would argue they have increased their productivity by about 20%, if not more.
Depends what you count as productivity.
Let's put it this way: lines of code, ideas that you've prototyped and maybe generated. Because a lot of the times you know what you want to do, you don't necessarily want, or you don't necessarily know the path, how you're going to get to that.
I see.
And LLMs tend to enable that. So for the best of us, it's a very good positive tool. Whereas, as you mentioned, like juniors, they a lot of the times tend to struggle, not even to understand, but they don't even have the time. Like because the management is incentivized to push this idea of fast delivery because of AI and whatnot. Like juniors are not even motivated to learn and understand concepts. So did we get smarter, more efficient, or do we become dumber over time? Because like a lot of the science going into this, like there are people who research this. They like scan the brain and the way it works, and they've found out that when you're using a lot of these LLMs, your brain actually works less. So are we getting dumber? Like what's the state of AI in this case?
Okay. So first the state of AI, but I have also a comment on the productivity thing. I'd say it helps some jobs. So it does indeed increase productivity for some jobs. I would argue it's not so much the case for software engineering, and I'll explain a bit later. But in terms of are we getting dumber or smarter, I'm probably in the camp that things were getting dumber. And it's kind of the case, similar but amplified, of course, case when basically everyone got internet. So people lost the skill of searching for books.
Yeah, like we got more connected. Same with social media. Got more connected, but you got more depressed people, more alone people.
Yeah, the thing is, so why am I also saying that we are getting dumber? There is value in struggling to understand something.
Yeah.
Through that pain, you actually remember it better and internalize the knowledge better. So when you use shortcuts to solve a problem, you will usually retain much less about how to solve that problem.
That's
right?
like porn, but for learning, in a way.
I mean, yeah. So that's why, for example, in the days past, many senior engineers were advising juniors not to actually use Stack Overflow and just bang their heads off the wall until they solve the issue.
Yeah, but even that, like the journey of fucking trying to find anything that you can get your hands on, trying any stupid suggestion in a Stack Overflow, GitHub thread, Google.
Well, you think
100th page.
You think the ChatGPT suggestions are much better?
That's my point. Is it was trained on the same input, and not to mention this parameter of hallucination, which is not to be modified in a lot of ways except through like APIs and shit. So all of these GUIs come with like some built-in parameters.
So the hallucination that you mentioned, it's an innate property of LLM. Basically, the LLM is like an autocomplete, but very capable, like really capable one. So as a result, when you ask it something that it saw multiple times in its training data, it will probably hallucinate less, meaning it will not make so much stuff up. If you ask it something that it didn't see, it will try to tell you something, because ML is known for the fact that most of the neural network models, they don't know how to say, I don't know. So they will always come up with an answer.
They're always positive. Like that's the best therapist you can have.
I would argue against that. Like there are multiple cases where people
but it's not going to insult you. It's not going to insult you. It's always going to give you props for saying, hey, this is a good idea. This is a good question.
Depends how you fine-tune it. The fact that the most of the available LLMs are this positive, it's just because the companies that trained them chose them to make them so. Because it's very bad PR and maybe also litigations if you make a very aggressive and sociopathic.
I even know
model.
I believe Copilot does this. Like if you insult it, it's just gonna fucking shut down.
That's nice.
Whereas ChatGPT and others, they'll just take all the shit.
Okay, try a fine-tuned model and you'll be in a world of
I remember, especially when it just got released for JetBrains, I started using it. I didn't like some of it, and I even was frustrated in some instances.
Mm-hmm.
I insulted it. I told him to fuck off or whatever, and he just, okay, I'm terminating this. I'm not going to respond. You needed to open a new prompt, new like window and stuff, which is fun.
So circling back to the productivity thing that you mentioned. So you said that for you, productivity is just like how many ideas you prototype and how many lines of code you write. So, and I wouldn't really count productivity as that, especially the lines of code, because even if you generate relatively good quality code with these AI copilots and whatnot, what matters is how much of those lines of code will persist and how sure you are in those lines of code.
Yeah, like you mentioned that, and it reminds me of discussions that I've had with my managers, where they were like, some of them were micromanaging to the level where they would just go inside GitLab and they would look at what exactly I committed. And they're like, this is what you done over 8 or 16 hours. And they see like a one-liner.
Yeah.
And I'm telling them, okay, this is a one-liner, but how many hours, like that change alone, it's like, I don't know, a minute, even less.
Okay.
But to get to that one-liner, to find the bug, to reproduce the bug, like that's what actually takes time. And a lot of managers don't seem to understand that. And they equate productivity to lines of code. And if that were true, then all of us would just fucking generate lorem ipsum.
Yeah, and that's my issue with these AI copilots, because I've worked with a team that adopt, and they were super good engineers, don't get me wrong, and it was a startup, but the engineering quality was like really good. Basically, all the infrastructure as code all the way down, all the AWS stuff, all the Terraform, neatly ordered, version controlled. Their environment was super easy to set up. Documentation was up to the level. It was great, right? Probably one of the best companies I've worked with. And they were a startup. They weren't like a big tech or even like a moderately sized one. It was 50 people at most. No, actually like 30 people at most. But at some point, there was a very hard push for, okay, we need to use AI and adopt AI. And honestly, they were at the point where they could benefit from AI. But from my observations, while they were doing that, some use cases that everyone talks about, so like AI copilots to just generate the code instead of yourself, or I don't know, writing tests and writing documentation, frankly, it was a slop, and it was a lot of slop, and it was hard to review. So think of it like if someone maybe works on a bigger feature and they open a pull request of 1,000 lines of code, of Python code, they were working with Python, you would probably throw a few what the fucks and bitch, what are you doing? But with AI, we're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 lines of code. And that was almost every PR, and it was touching almost all the aspects of the code base, like shotgun surgery style, you know?
Yeah, my problem with it is, okay, it generates stuff really nice. Let's say you have ideas. You go from idea to prototype, which actually works and does whatever you want. My problem with it is the moment you want to add the smallest change to it. And if you take into consideration also the context window, which at some point it grows and it starts to summarize shit, then you lose it even more. And this idea of memory becomes even more vague to the LLM that you're using.
Our human memory in some aspects is even worse. The problem is
like the problem with like this, like a lot of companies push this idea of AI assisted development and whatnot. What they tend to not realize is in the process of doing that, yes, it's fast in the initial steps. You generate something, cool. Now, change request comes in. You need to change one small thing. You tell it, change this thing to that thing. It may do it, but a lot of the times what it does is it changes it or it doesn't change it, but then along with it, it breaks 20 other things. And then you end up babysitting it, praying to the gods of LLM to actually give you the solution that you want. And instead of doing your proper job of thinking of solution, you're actually praying to the gods and mimicking your engineering and whatnot.
Yeah, like the joke of the vibe, like a senior vibe coder is the one who asks the most cursor, please fix this.
Yeah, like
my issue is not even that, although it is absolutely true. Like once the changes start piling up, the LLM just loses it. It cannot handle.
And imagine how big can the context be? Like initially the context is small enough because you have an input, it gives you back an output. Now let's imagine that output were to be, I don't know, megabytes in size.
Mm-hmm.
Now that output has to be the input or the input summarized plus your question, which makes it go sideways even more.
Yeah, true. Like the more input you give, the more context you give it, the harder it is for the LLM to follow that.
Like I really love what they did with like the web search. Really good stuff, which wasn't initially when LLMs came out. But still, man, the context is, that's why I just use it for like I try to restrain the context so very much that it only has to think about one thing and one thing only.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good way to do it. I was saying my issue with LLM assisted development is these LLMs are very verbose. So as a result, something that if you were to write it, you would have written it in, I don't know, 200 lines of code.
Right.
The LLM will probably do it in 1,000. Just because it wants to add some extra abstraction that may not be needed. Well, usually it's not. So it works, in a way, it works a little bit like a junior engineer that just found out about all the best practices, but doesn't really understand them. You know,
Or
like
them.
someone who read the Gang of Four, but doesn't really understand when it is appropriate to use a specific pattern.
Yeah, because it tries to like. This also has to deal with like the business context. Like the more you give him, the more it's going to try to narrow it down. And a lot of us come to an LLM in many occasions out of desperation. I really need this shit to work and I really need it fast.
Mm-hmm.
And in the pursuit, in the moment, you just don't want, like, you don't give a fuck about giving it too much context. You just want to be fast. Like you want the solution as fast as you're typing the input, which in the process tends to be less context for the LLM, which gives you like shittier output basically.
Yep. And the time you spend refining the prompt and the time you spend checking and debugging the result.
And I also found like a little hack. I also found like a little hack. It's easier to open a new conversation to copy the old input, slightly address it and give it more context than to try to correct its course and direction, because it just fucking goes sideways.
Yeah, that's true. That's called context creep, but this is the case with LLMs. Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, I use an LLM more like you know the rubber ducking method.
Yeah, it's really good. Like,
so it's basically
that's what I'm saying. Like
for me,
like a small
Basically, I'm not letting it generate. Oh, okay. I am letting it generate code. I'm not using that code usually, but at least I see some patterns. Usually, I think to myself, okay, this is bullshit, but I can do it better. But the fact that it kind of like started the conversation and there is a point from where to develop and improve, it does help.
For me, I know what the solution should look like. The hard part is figuring out the exact roadmap. And what an LLM does, and I really appreciate, is it draws the roadmap for me. And I'm like, okay, I like this road. I'm going to make a slight correction here. But overall, I like it. And that's what saves me the time, makes me more productive in other way.
Yeah, this thing does make you productive. I do agree. Lines of code, no. Like, I'm a firm believer that the less lines of code you write, delivering the solution, the better off you are.
Simplicity is hard.
Yep, it is.
That's why complexity pays off better.
Yeah, job security.
Yeah. It's just funny.
And as for the prototyping and ideation, sometimes it makes sense, yes. The problem is when you at least that's my belief, when you commodize too much this process of ideating and developing a quick, I call them spikes because they're not quite MVPs, and you check whether your idea works or not. When it's too easy to do, you will spend much less time analyzing basically the outputs and the findings of your spike.
I typically tend to cut the umbilical cord rather sooner than later, meaning I give him the problem, the potential output that I'm looking for. He draws the roadmap, and then I'm like, I like this. Now I'm gonna do the correction on my own. I'm gonna address the course, because if I try to do it via the LLM, it's just gonna go sideways. And
I agree.
The initial roadmap I liked is no longer gonna be the same.
That's another use case. The use case I'm talking about is, let's say you're working on a voice assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you kind of know that, okay, I need to wire up together some LLM with some text to speech and some speech to text, but I honestly have no idea how exactly to do it in a performant way. So you ask an LLM and it gives you an idea, and you're like, okay, just quickly do me a demo application so that I can see how it works and I can present it to someone, right? Or if you're a data scientist, you'd be like, okay, I got this data. I know it has to do with some kind of graphs, but I have no experience working on graphs. Can you do me a quick demo, right? So this kind of situations where you need to prototype things quickly.
Prototyping is so good.
So my problem with this is because it's so easy to do, the results that you get back, you'll not spend a lot of, usually, not for everyone, I'm not generalizing here, but a lot of the time I notice that people tend to spend less time analyzing the outputs.
Yeah, they think it's bulletproof, production ready.
No, not the way I'm going. No, they just reiterate just quickly. They don't dive into the results. They're like, oh, this is a problem. Do me another one. Oh, this is a problem. Do me another one. Instead of spending, let's say, half an hour to dissect the result, to dissect the prototype and say, okay, there will be an issue here. There will be another issue here. This one was not implemented as I needed to be. This one was implemented as I needed to be. But now I understand that that's not what I actually want from the system. People tend to outsource their skills and their thinking too much. So like at some point they're no better than the LLM just because they want to cut they want to cut corners.
Is the motivation there? Talking about management, talking about maybe salaries?
Well, salaries, yes, because if you deliver great results, and usually you'll deliver great results using your skills and not LLM's skills, then you can write it in your CV, brag about it on LinkedIn, and find another job.
You can write, P.S. This was written without LLMs.
I mean, if you throw a few grammatical errors and a couple of jokes, it will be enough to
that's
spot
usually
that's
the
not
case.
LLM,
Like if I read a message, especially when it comes to LinkedIn, if I receive a message, somebody's interested in my profile, they really appreciate it, and they come up with some shit technology which is not even present in my job history, that's a fucking bot. That's an LLM writing messages on.
Yeah, I do agree. I just don't care.
When it comes to LLMs and AI and all this overhyped stuff that's happening around us, is AI really coming for our jobs? Because a lot of people, you mentioned job security a lot of the times, a lot of people are afraid of losing their jobs. question, to what extent is that the case? What jobs in particular are going to be lost to AI? What's your opinion on this?
So I think any job that doesn't rely on expertise and it's almost mechanical, if you will, that these jobs are threatened, indeed. Uh, I think what we will see, and I would say it is a speculation, but not so much seeing like how companies act in this current environment. We'll first see even more layoffs, and then there will be like the Gartner hype cycle.
Yeah, I don't know for what reason,
I f-
when this is going to happen, but I'm expecting like a Great Depression 2.0 at some point.
Maybe not that bad. Our systems kind of are. I tend to believe are more anti-fragile from this point of view. So as a result, the fall will not be that drastic, and the rise will be quicker because we are just so much better at processing information and.
Do you believe there will be a
fixing
time
things.
when a lot of shit is gonna pile up and
Yeah.
people, like employers in particular, will just look for competent people?
Yes.
Like what I see at the moment happening is competency is no longer value as it used to be. Right now, people prioritize loyalty, kiss
I
assing.
disagree. At least from my
Well,
from the
okay,
clients
let
that
me
I
ask you
work
this.
with.
When was the last time you interviewed for a job?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Interesting.
Yeah.
How many interviews you've had in the last year?
Well, I interviewed with probably 3 companies.
Yeah, that's not a lot. Let's say try
Yeah.
let me give you a chance. Try to interview with 100. Like make 100 interviews in this
I
year.
don't need to.
No, just for fun. Do it for fun. Do it for like
100 interviews are
for
never fun.
your own like entertainment, and you will see what's the core value at like when people hire other people, engineers in particular. What they're looking for?
Look, this is probably a different perspective because of the different ways we're working. I don't know. I market myself as a consultant, which means yes, I'm expensive, but
You're also in a privileged position because you're in the data science, and this is like the
Yeah.
hottest shit at the
Well,
moment. If you
I
take,
haven't done actual data science in a while, but
that's not my point.
yeah,
like you're
yeah.
doing the hot stuff on the market, and you get all the praise. Let's be all the way honest. Like 5 years ago versus now it's like bread and butter for you.
Well, 5 years ago was cool for me.
I mean, data scientist
3
slash
years ago or so. Look, for me, most of my career, I was in the position to receive job offers and not to apply to them. There were times when I had to apply just because I wanted a drastic change, and it was tricky. I do agree, but always the issue was not
but I'm not
loyalty or culture. Or
I'm
so
not
on.
even talking about you applying, because I don't apply either, but I get approached. I say, yes, I do agree. Let's have a conversation. You have a conversation, and either the people are not serious, or the rates are quite low, or the other thing, which is like what I'm talking about, the culture, the like what they're looking for. They're looking for loyalty, for kiss assing. And the moment you try to speak out, you try to say, this is a red flag, that is a red flag, they're like, we're not looking for guys like you. They're not saying it directly, but that's what the message says.
How do you spot these red flags during the early stages of interviewing?
It's very easy to analyze the, like you can even take the very initial stages. Like typically you have 3 or 4 stages. You have the HR interview, you have some kind of technical interview, then you have some kind of manager interview, and then you have some kind of final interview, perhaps.
Okay.
And typically you can even spot this at the very stages. Like you analyze what they prioritize. If they prioritize the rate, they're going to sacrifice on quality. If let's say the rate is not a problem, most likely they want quality, but with the rate being high enough, there might be a cost on what you can say, what you cannot say. And the moment you express an opinion, they give you a scenario.
Yeah.
They ask you, what would you do in this case? And you have 2 choices. I'm going to be honest and tell you exactly how I feel about it. Or choice number 2, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. You're going to make a nice look. You're going to put a check in your book, and I'm going to pass the interview, at least on paper. But the moment you say what you truly feel like, which is, I don't like this, this is a red flag, you're going to immediately see how their look changes.
Okay. Frankly, I had this kind of behavior, like the behavioral style of questions. I had them just once when I was interviewing with a big tech company. And that's it. I never really had this kind of
Yeah, my point is,
conversations.
if you try to interview on scale, like
Mhm.
try to just go
Oh, okay.
for your own fun / checking yourself entertainment, you will see, again, this may differ from industry to industry, but if you
Probably.
try to do it in the front end world, in the back end world,
Mhm.
you will see a lot of struggle. You'll see HRs that are not serious.
Mhm.
At some point, I even thought they do it for fun, like open a job posting, but not with the intent of hiring actual people.
If they have this,
And then
if for these situations they just don't reply to you
and
and
then
don't
like
see
they write
candidates.
you text them back, you say you're interested, they don't reply. And then you say you're interested, they ask for your CV, then they don't reply. And then you say you're interested, you give them CV, they reply, you set up the first interview, they say they're not interested. In some instances, you pass all the interviews, and at the very late one, they say they found somebody else or they picked somebody else. Or you might pass all of them and then they don't respond. Like,
Yeah,
it's so
happens.
crazy that this happens on such a scale nowadays. And I think it comes
Because we
all the way
have,
down to rate and to loyalty.
I don't think it's so much about loyalty. The rate, yes, because we have so many more engineers right now, and there is some belief that with AI you can take basically a middle engineer and turn them into a senior.
Let me ask you this. If you're an HR watching this, what do you fucking define as middle? Because for me, it's hard to understand. Like, I don't even think people are looking for middle. I would rather say people are looking for seniors because there's so many of them.
They are looking for seniors, but they want them for very cheap. And I mean,
Have you seen like the requirements? Like, it's even
What?
funny that there are like memes of like languages and frameworks that exist on the market for like
yeah,
2 years, but they're asking
Yeah.
like 5 years of experience and whatnot.
yeah,
And it's just hilarious and funny that they don't even know what they're looking for.
yeah.
In
Yeah, this
many
happens, yeah.
instances, they just because again, for a lot of these employers, experience means years of experience, not necessarily projects you've worked on, because you might have a lot more experience than somebody who's been kissing ass for 10 years in the same company.
Mhm.
And it's just I mean, that's the reality we're in right now. And I tend to believe at some point we'll reach a point where incompetency will stop, in a way that people will no longer, employers will no longer prioritize them, and I guess problems will start piling up, and that's where we come in.
Yeah, so on this topic, and you mentioned also this earlier. Yeah, I wanted to give an example. Like in early 2000s, there was like a big shift in trying to outsource American, Western developers, whatever, to India.
Right.
And at some point that backfired, and they started nearshoring or on or onshoring, I don't know, on their side, because there were major cultural differences, there were major quality issues, and not just for IT but for all sorts of tasks. Basically, what remained offshore is mostly customer service, and even at that, like only the first line of customer service. Like if it's some advanced case, they will still try to direct you to someone of a similar cultural background, if you want. So yeah, I think this is what's going to happen again, because what I'm seeing, it's not even so much about AI making wreck with the current state of the market. It's the fact that, first of all, they started increasing the interest rates, so now the money are not that cheap.
Correct.
Second is at least there was, I think they removed it, or they plan to, but for a few years now there was the loom of a new tax code in US, where they cannot expense all their software engineering and R&D related expenses in the same year.
Yeah, in the US,
That thing hit much harder than AI, because that was actual losing money, right?
I mean, even before America First policies, people were still very skeptical of. And the other reason is because I was talking to an employer like a while ago about this exact same issue, and he explained to me why American companies no longer look for Eastern European companies, is because the cost of living got so high here to the point that to afford it, you need a salary about equally the same as the one in the US. And for them, the reasoning is simple. Why would I hire somebody in a different time zone when it takes me about the same, maybe slightly more, to pay somebody who's local, who's from here? I can manage them a lot easier. I can maybe pay them like 20-30% more, but at least they're here, same time zone, easy to manage, and all that stuff.
Here it also comes down to where exactly in America was that employer. Because if you're in the Midwest, basically, or even Chicago, this reasoning does apply. If you're in New York, the rates for developers in New York is still much higher than anywhere in Europe. If you're in San Francisco, Bay
that's
Area,
no doubt about it. Like US is the highest paying jobs overall.
Yes, but there is a very big difference. Basically, what I'm saying is, if you're in, I don't know, North Carolina and you're making $150K US dollars, you're good. If you're in San Francisco and making $150K,
you're fucked.
You're really fucked.
Yeah.
So the difference is huge.
Yeah, no, that's true. But at the same time, this applies like if you take the whole inflation, the whole economical crisis, the whole war, coupled with the fact that Europeans are no longer buying gas directly, but through proxies at 2x, 3x the price, which makes everything else expensive as a result. If you basically have a fucked up Europe, which pays a lot more for the same shit, which overall increases the cost of living, but salaries don't grow at the same rate. I would argue it, in a lot of cases, even dropped a little bit.
Relative to the cost of living, yes.
And it makes it harder for like foreign investors to come and invest in Europe when Europe is getting fucked at this exact period. Yeah. So back to LLMs though.
Okay.
Because this is like a very
it's
interesting.
Easier to discuss. Yeah.
It's easier to go into politics, and some people are just fragile. But I do love politics though. But back to LLMs. I was wondering, since everyone's an AI expert, that also happens. It may happen to be the case for managers. And my question is, have you ever been told by a manager who LLM'd his way into a potential solution, and he was like, I just LLM'd this thing, and you should, I think, do it this way? Never. I was once told this because I was like, can't do this because of that. And he was like, yeah, but my good old friend ChatGPT says you can do it this way. And he posts the whole thing.
Yeah, never, because first of all, I am like AI, ML, whatever the flavor now, engineer, and I'm brought in usually when stuff's fucked. So like,
that's a really good position to be in.
Yes. So as a result, like no one tries. It's basically the Narnia meme. Don't how was that? Don't speak to me of elder magic. I was there when it was written, something like that. Yeah. So I'm basically in that position. So as a result, no, I never get such suggestions from management.
Especially like in the front end world, people are getting wrecked.
Oh yeah,
because it's so easy to generate everything in the front end as opposed to what it used to be the case 5 to 6 years ago. And everyone's an expert, and you land into a position and you're being told what to do, how much is it going to take to do it.
Well,
all that stuff.
That's a bad position. Find another one.
Yeah. It's a shitty position to be in, but nonetheless, people are still hiring front-end engineers. People are still hiring engineers of any kind, whether it's front-end, back-end, mobile, all of the stuff is still on demand. But at the same time, if you have micromanagers, you're going to have a bad time. And you don't know until it happens, actually.
Yeah, very, very rarely. I mean, if you can spot this during the interview, it means that the situation is very bad. So, yeah.
A lot of I tend to notice this happens with like small to medium companies.
Mm-hmm.
Like big companies, they don't give a shit.
I think
we pay you, do your job.
Same company now.
yeah. So like small to medium, they're like trying to optimize and cut corners as much as they can.
Yeah.
And as a result, they don't give a shit if engineers come and go every 3 months or every 6 months or every 1 year. They just don't care.
Yeah.
Because the demand is so high. There's so few of us, but so much of you, engineers in other ways. We can just afford to hire engineers left and right.
Honestly, I think it's still a bad strategy. Even if engineers are relatively cheap, there is a lot of, like tacit knowledge when it comes to working on these projects. So I'm almost always for the idea of keeping the existing stuff instead of trying to hire someone.
Yeah, the idea of institutional memory has been lost long since AI boom.
Yeah, but that's the problem. AI knows about basically what's written in Wikipedia, generalizing here. But it doesn't know, for example, why exactly your Java thing is written this way. It doesn't have the context or the memory of when it was written, what were the trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
And people usually tend not to document this kind of stuff, which I really believe is wrong. So I always try to document this kind of reasonings and why
you're cutting the branch you're sitting on.
I'm fine with it. I'm okay.
Yeah. More on the AI news and stuff. Have you heard about Diela?
Nope. What's that?
So this is like an AI ministry in charge of dealing with corruption in Albania.
So they're like a proper ministry that uses AI?
Yeah, it's like a ministry appointed, but it's an AI.
Oh, it's an AI that acts as a ministry.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on, let's say, replacing certain positions where prior to that were people in charge with AI, which is more objective, more on point, and all that stuff?
Look, frankly, I think they did it for either for the laws or
I think they did
hype.
it for the memes and for the hype.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you really shouldn't replace people with
especially
kind of
if it's like a critical decision you're about to make. Although corruption is like a thing.
No, corruption is pretty critical because if you get it wrong, you'll put behind bars someone who's innocent.
Yeah, especially if it involves like judges and stuff. No thanks. I need like a human understanding the situation. Although humans are corrupt to the nature.
Humans are corrupt and the AIs are fallible. So pick your poison.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm always for basically staff augmentation, where you give people tools to be more effective and ideally let people choose their tools because they know better. Replacing especially people who have this kind of institutional knowledge and context with some full automation, it never goes well. And it never went well even before AI, because there were automation efforts basically since we have computers. And very often when it's done recklessly just to save some money, it usually backfires when it gets
people always
out.
Find a way around any system, basically.
Yeah. Plus people, so most of the modern systems that we like really rely on, they were built on knowledge and they were evolving throughout time, right? The law systems that we have, engineering standards that we use,
especially the law, because you can always like a law comes out.
Yeah, you can basically
immediately there are people who already knows like a loophole in the law.
So the loopholes it's one thing, but what I'm saying is the laws that we have, they exist there because some long time ago, or not so long time ago, something happened for which there was no provision. So as a result, you had to come up with a solution. There is a saying that the the driving laws, or however they're called, like the driving rules,
especially with like the accidents, the
they
more
were
of them
written
happen
in blood.
Yeah.
So
the more of them happen, the stricter the law becomes, the stricter the fines and all that.
Which sometimes may not be a good thing.
Because people always kill each other for like, especially when driving cars. But at the same time, you don't like, you want to incentivize good behavior.
Yes.
And do you want to go like China style with like credit scores and shit?
I think the scores thing was actually just an experiment. I think they don't actually have it, but it's a good meme. So yeah.
Is it like a meme or a real thing?
It's no. I think they run an experiment in a city, as far as I know, but they don't have like a large scale deployment of this system. I think they just experimented with the idea of social credit.
Interesting.
But
although I tend to believe it's for real.
I think they have plans. I'm sure they have plans, but I don't think it's deployed to that scale yet. They have other systems which work well enough.
That's the deal with like all like socialist centric countries. You tend to give up part of your rights in exchange for some common good.
That's the case for
whether that's the case for you or not. It's a different question.
That's the case for any state.
Yeah.
That's a social contract, basically.
So, since we're talking about AI and stuff, I'm sure everybody's fucking like mentioning this around. So it would be a sin for me not to do it. Let's talk about MCP. Do you believe there's more implementations than actual users of MCP? And why is that the case?
Tell you what, I haven't used MCP and I don't care. The moment I will need it, I will look it up.
Take it from a data scientist, ladies.
Yeah. What I do know about MCP, at least the earlier versions, that implementation is really bad. Meaning what? First of all, the way they handle bidirectional communication is bad, to say the least. Instead of using WebSockets, which is kind of like the de facto way to run bidirectional comms in HTTP, they basically open two server send events connections, two SSE connections, one for the client to send the data and one for the server to send the data back to the client, which is suboptimal.
I hear this a lot. Like the protocol is good that it exists, but it's not efficient.
It's very poorly designed, and the first versions I know, they totally ignored the security aspect. I think there were some patches, but I haven't looked it up again because I just don't care.
Yeah, like the funny thing is, since everyone's talking about it's like a microcosm of LLMs, like what LLMs used to be in the very first phase when everybody was racing for it. Now you have a lot of them. It's the same with like MCP. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's trying to come up with their own implementation, but nobody cares. Nobody uses it.
Okay.
Until there will come a point where we truly need integrations. And speaking of integrations, I tend to like ask this a lot of the times. Like if you're a company, you want like you have a bunch of products, you want to integrate all these LLMs. Why not just use like, some Olama server and proxy that shit through like your favorite LLM and just integrate internally? Like let me ask this differently. Why would you use an MCP when you can do direct integrations with specific LLMs you care about, you want to integrate with?
To my knowledge, MCP is basically like a directory of tools that the LLM can access.
Yeah, it's like an integration point.
Yeah, no, but the way it from LLM standpoint, it's basically the LLM knows of a tool called MCP server. I don't know the name. It queries it, gets a list of what's available in there, and then picks the tool that it actually wants to use. For example, push a ticket to Jira, or
Right.
I don't know, read the comments on a specific ticket. Let's say, and yeah, it's just tools. The fact that some tools may use LLMs or not, it's a different story. But it's just tools. But the integration that you're talking about, so why not?
No, what I mean is, what would be the, like, why would I go with MCP protocols when it's super easy to, if I'm already heavily relying on LLMs in my product development, why would I go MCP way when I can just
Because
do the integrations?
MCPs are not LLMs.
No, they're not LLMs. That's correct. They're integrations with LLMs.
Yes, so that the LLM
So why
can
would I
then
not
use
do?
something else.
Why would I not integrate on my
Directly?
own? Yeah, directly.
I fucking hate their tagline that they're like USB but for LLMs. But in this regard, I do actually agree. It's just a common interface. So in case that you want to use something else, some other tool, for example, you have a flexibility because you're not. It's like having an interface versus depending directly on the implementation. Same thing here.
But at the same time, you might be lagging behind because I don't know, you're using, like, the MCP depends on some package. The package is not updated. You wait for the package to be updated. In that case,
Shit happens.
Yeah. So it's shit like that.
But I mean, the same thing happens with just libraries.
Exactly.
You're
it's a
using
library
library,
thing.
but
Yeah.
it's exactly the same thing. So
It's the same problem, different use
I mean,
case.
if you really care, yeah, okay, go ahead and do your own integration. But usually it offers the flexibility.
Yeah, but at the same time, the question is, like, because there might be MCP integrations which, let's say if you used the API directly, you might have access to, like, beta features and things that the, like, official MCP integration doesn't have access to. In that case, you might tend to go the other way.
Okay, but on the other hand, look, we're talking in the context of MCP, but I absolutely don't care about it. I am talking general software engineering. If you want to use the beta thing, you're taking the risk that it will change and you will not be notified.
Correct.
So, I mean, it's on you. You want it? Okay, sure, go for it. But just beware, if stuff breaks, don't ask for help.
Are data scientists like the madmen who are collecting about anything about us? And should maybe people be worried about, like, let's say when using social media, any social media that they use, unless it's fucking end-to-end encrypted, should people be concerned about what exactly they type, as that might be collected and then you have targeted ads and whatnot?
Well, I mean, if you're using social media, it's end-to-end encrypted between you and their server, so they still have access.
No, I'm not talking about TLS. I'm talking about actual end-to-end encryption between a user and another user, like a secret chat of sorts.
Like a WhatsApp thing.
Like a Telegram signal thing,
Yeah.
type of thing, yeah.
Okay.
Unless it's that, typically it's not really encrypted. Yeah, it's encrypted from the public, but the actual server knows what you're doing.
If you're using social, let's say, so the end-to-end encryption argument that you're bringing, let's say that the messenger that has this kind of end-to-end encryption is Facebook's.
Right.
I mean, they will certainly have some stage where if they want, they could decrypt and read your data. And even with Telegram, so you mentioned Telegram, I don't know what's the status now.
No,
but for a very long time, Telegram was actually keeping the messages in clean text.
No, I don't mean the messages, the DMs you have with people, the ones you can forward, the ones you can, like, screenshot and whatnot. I mean the secret message, where you actually have true end-to-end encryption between you and the other device. And even, like, the encryption keys are stored in, like, different locations and whatnot.
I'll answer it like this. If they are honest about their end-to-end encryption, then you have nothing to worry about.
I mean, the application, I believe, is open source, so you can check it.
Which application are you talking about?
I'm talking about Telegram in particular. I believe they have, like, reproducible builds, which comes from, like, open sourcing it.
Nice. Although the client is probably open source, not so
yeah,
much
the client, no, not the server.
Yeah.
But you're, in this case, if you have end-to-end encryption, you don't even need the server.
Yeah, but also not quite. So to achieve like actual end-to-end encryption, I think
You might need like, I don't know,
you need the
fetching
key.
information about users and whatnot.
No,
but
you need to establish an end-to-end encrypted channel. You
That true,
need
yeah.
some kind of shared secret key by which you encrypt your messages and someone else decrypts
I
them.
mean, you negotiate.
How do you do this key exchange based on which you generate the secret key so that the third party, in this case the server that gives you this service, doesn't have access to any of this information?
Yeah, but it's not gonna have access. Like if it's a Diffie-Hellman type of negotiation, it's not gonna have access to it.
Okay, where is this Diffie-Hellman running?
Can be running between clients. No server involved. The
So-
server might only connect
so
the two.
the client is sending their key to the other client to which they
Yeah,
want
the
to
public
talk.
keys. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, and then you compute the Diffie-Hellman.
yeah. On each other ends.
Okay. But by sending this key, you're sending it through the server probably.
You can, but you don't have to. That's my point. You like the server in this case is more of a, let's say, gateway for like, I don't know, user information / we can store your keys
Okay.
in a
The
certain
safest
location.
way to transfer, to share these keys and get to some common secret key is you meet in person, you show each other the keys, they transfer it to their devices.
Yeah, but
and
you don't
compute
have to.
it.
You don't have to. If you use Diffie-Hellman, you don't have to. You can negotiate the key, store the key on your device. But the problem is if you log in with another device in the same account, then that's the problem. And for that matter, you need to store some kind of key somewhere.
Yeah. And it gets
Yeah.
stored. And yeah, maybe don't discuss sensitive information on chats. Maybe don't bring also journalists in them.
Yeah, always, because I'm like, okay, I said some shit, I texted some shit, and then you see some ad. Most certainly, this was not as safe as you thought it is when you discussed it.
Yeah, so there are like many stories of devices actually listening to you, and then I mean that's the supposition that it happens. We don't know for certain if that happens, but it looks like you're discussing, I don't know, a trip to Georgia or something, and then next day you get ads with cheap flight tickets to Tbilisi.
Yeah. I mean, it's always the case. That's
Yeah.
that's how they make their money. They target ads based on what you say, write, post,
Yep.
and whatever. I always like tend to believe in this idea of like the whole. I don't know if you're familiar with the Holy Roman Empire. Like
Sure.
guys always think about that in a sense that we
Well,
always
guys think of the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire. Was
yeah
a
the
mess.
Roman Empire, the Roman Empire. Sorry. So I always tend to like think of this idea of like, okay, let me think what's gonna happen like in the next 5 years and whatnot. So like speaking of that, I'm wondering like at what point we'll have like AI monopolies, because right now like companies are racing for this AI battle and
Mhm.
like chip manufacturing, LLMs and whatnot. What's your opinion on this whole AI race? Which country is leading? Which countries is getting busy with like regulations and whatnot, caps and shit?
I can't say, but I care. I think it's gonna be a dead end. That's it.
Is it gonna be another NFT Web3 type of thing?
No, because this thing is actually useful. But yeah, I think at some point they will realize that mimicking human communication patterns is not quite the way to achieve actual AI.
Yeah. Is
Okay.
there anything you enjoy doing outside of work?
Well, I play PlayStation.
Do you play PC?
No, I prefer single player, story driven games.
I was gonna ask you about your favorite game genre, but since you mentioned PlayStation, I would suppose it's like RPG or like
like Witcher.
yeah, Witcher. Man, Witcher is like fucking
I
infinite.
yeah, it is.
I tried
huge.
playing it on like PC,
Uh-huh.
and you interact with everything. Like, oh, you see some grass, you can listen to whatever people are saying around you. You can like pull your sword and start attacking some random villager, and then he complains to the guards, and then you mess up with them. It's so infinite. Like you cannot finish the game.
It is great. Yeah.
Like I played God of War,
Uh-huh.
It's also somewhat infinite, but you have a mission. You have like the
Well, in Witcher, you also have a mission. It's like I was super surprised. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so. Not later than that. I was surprised that Grand Theft Auto actually has a story. For me, it was always okay. So I spawn here. I start
let's smash some shit.
Yeah, and it turns out it does have a story and it does have missions. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, I think there were like some missions, but the moment you start like cracking shit, like I don't know, getting ammos, guns, and whatnot, messing with police, you forget about missions because you just want to like
just
destroy
wreak
everything
havoc,
around you.
So yeah, Witcher does have story. But yeah, in general, I tend to like just single player games that are interesting. I don't even care whether it's an RPG or some kind of arcade or even, I don't know, racing. I just don't like interacting with people.
You're more of a introvert?
Yes. And other than that, I don't know. Reading. I also bought a few $100 of components from AliExpress, and I'm trying to make an autonomous watering station for my basil and for my mint, because I tend not to be at home for days, and I know I have a few friends who I can ask, like, can you just go and check on those plants, but yeah, it gets annoying, and sometimes I ask multiple people because I know their schedules are very different, but sometimes they overlap, and that's how I lost some time, as in the plant.
Interesting,
not
a way
time,
to automate your life, I guess.
Yeah. Plus, it's fun. I don't know. It's a bit
Yeah,
challenging.
building like a home lab type of project is always fun.
Yeah.
Because I have like my servers running around and messing. Like it's always like you always break them, you always fix them. It's the fun part. It's what reminds you of the reason why you got into this thing in the first place.
Well, for me, it was always a technical challenge. So, and given that,
especially like the Linux days when you just fucking break shit accidentally.
You see, you're talking of a server as like server level complexity. I'm talking basically electronics. Like, why is this transistor not acting the way it should? Oh, okay.
Yeah, tell me about it. Like when
here.
I was building like drones. Oh, this fucking law makes sense now. Like,
Yep.
Like I didn't sort this right, and it is shorted it, and now I need to buy a new component.
Yep.
At least with the servers, is you can always go back. You can always reinstall things,
you can
retry things.
You have logs.
Yeah.
Yeah, in here you just have a multimeter and you're like a monkey.
And yeah.
Am I touching it right, or it actually has like 0 voltage in here?
Yeah, and if it didn't work, you just need to buy a new thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it also happens that you buy a broken thing.
Yeah, this also happens. Yeah.
Like it's so annoying because you cannot tell, is this properly working? Am I doing something wrong?
It also, I don't know, it makes me think like how great, what great things we can achieve, because think of it, computers are basically like those transistors only scale down very much, and given just how annoying it is to work with this, and given just how many defects these things have,
you start having so much respect for the people
for the ones who develop the drivers and the operating system, because all these small issues are hidden from you, like you don't see them.
Correct. You just operate in a perfect medium. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a whole lot better than the people who are doing like low level stuff.
Yeah. A lot of this nasty thing is abstracted in a way that almost doesn't leak. And I'm saying almost because, if you have 100 servers, you'll start seeing some weird shit. But when you have just one or two, you almost don't see it.
So. Yeah, it's like a big house of deck cards, and it's enough for one of them at the bottom to like shake. It like ruins the whole thing. And it brings you back into the real world where things happen from like your basically electricity. Plug in the thing, and then transistors go into different states, and then you have bytes and things like that.
So yeah, it's fun.
So speaking of fun, you and I have been doing this for quite some years. My question would be, what makes you wake up with motivation in the morning to want to keep doing this thing over and over again?
The desire to not do it anymore.
Yeah, like, are you tired of what you're doing? Do you maybe have like a special, I don't know, use case, particular business thing which you're working on, which keeps you motivated? I don't know, some niche. Because for me, it's always like a next niche I want to at least tackle, at least try. Like I always have like to-dos. One of them being like game development, mobile development. At least I want to try that.
Yeah, no, I do also tend to have this kind of lists, but they're not very far away from what I'm doing. So it's more about like deepening my knowledge rather than breadth. I tend to believe that I have enough breadth, like I don't need more. But in terms of motivating niches and so on, I'd say like right now. So I very recently, like 2 weeks ago. So as I was saying, I was interviewing 2 weeks ago. So I got a new contract, which is much closer to what I liked when starting ML than now. Meaning it's they are basically like a protein ML company. So they use AI to generate custom proteins for pharmaceuticals and so on. And it's very heavy on more fundamental ML and like old style, relatively old style neural networks, so no LLMs and such. And they have some pretty interesting challenges, even on the engineering side, because I'm not that smart to work on the algorithmic side, but on the performance optimization, yeah, I can do it. And yeah, they have a lot of interesting challenges, and I actually feel motivated to work. I'm like, finally.
Yeah, every time there's something new.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Because like a lot of the times we tend to be these crud monkeys. We just take data from somewhere, we do something with the data, then we store it somewhere else, and then somebody else picks it up. It does the same thing essentially.
Yeah, but in general, almost any computer program can be thought as a data processor. So.
Correct. Yeah. So like every single time we're doing the same thing, I guess what gives us meaning is trying to do it in a different, new, interesting way, which is impactful for like the business, the world, and whatnot.
Yeah, it does help.
I guess to close the show, what would be your final piece of advice for the people watching? Maybe juniors who want to get into data science, maybe managers, maybe data scientists who are watching this, maybe software engineers. Like, what's your final piece of advice for overall happiness in what you're doing / ways to get better and whatnot?
Yeah, maybe I'll focus on ways to get better. Just don't outsource your critical thinking. Yeah, that's what I'll say. Don't outsource your professional skills. I mean, use LLMs, sure, but hone your craft.
That's so powerful, and it seems like obvious, but you have to say this in the day and age that we live.
Yeah.
Before we close the show, I'll let you choose which brand is it gonna be, which wine is it gonna be.
Okay. The Freedom Blend was good, but I've been longing for some Malbec, so I'll take a Malbec.
Good fucking choice. Okay, Malbec it is then, we'll then close the show. We have so many more things to talk about. I guess we should do a V2 and whatnot. But nevertheless, it was a pleasure to see you, to talk to you, and to meet again.
Yeah, pleasure indeed.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this was VUnstaged. Keep your mind open and your source unstaged.